There is a registered nurse in Phoenix, Arizona making $78,000 a year. She drives a 2023 Honda CR-V. She has two kids in elementary school, a husband who brings in another $62,000 as a logistics coordinator, and a combined household income of $140,000. On paper, she is doing fine, better than fine. She is out-earning roughly 70% of American households. In reality, she has $940 in her savings account, $14,200 in credit card debt across 3 cards, and no retirement contributions since 2022. She is one transmission failure away from financial crisis, and she is not an outlier. Goldman Sachs reported in late 2025 that 62% of Americans, including 48% of those earning over $100,000, are living paycheck to paycheck. The Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances found that the median American household holds just $8,000 in savings. Bankrate's 2025 Emergency Fund report revealed that only 23% of adults could cover a $1,000 emergency entirely from savings. These are not numbers from a developing economy. These are numbers from the wealthiest country in human history. And the most unsettling part is this: the problem is not income. It never was. The problem is a missing system, a structural gap in how money moves through your life. Today, I am going to show you exactly how to close that gap using a framework that costs nothing to implement, requires no financial expertise, and has been statistically validated by the exposed habits of over 10,000 verified millionaires. Every step is specific, every number is sourced, and if you follow this through to the end, staying broke becomes almost mathematically impossible. My name is Zuri, and I spend an unreasonable amount of time dissecting financial data, consumer behavior research, and the exposed money habits of people who actually build wealth. So you do not have to. Here is what the data makes painfully clear. The gap between people who build wealth and people who stay stuck is not an income gap. It is a behavior gap. Ramsey Solutions conducted the largest study of millionaires ever performed in North America, surveying over 10,000 individuals with a net worth of $1 million or more. The findings destroy virtually every assumption the average person holds about wealth. 79% of those millionaires received zero inheritance. 31% never earned a six-figure salary in any single year of their careers. The top 5 professions represented were engineer, accountant, teacher, manager, and attorney. Not founders, not celebrities, not people who got lucky on a stock. Teachers. Meanwhile, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the average American household earning between $70,000 and $99,000 spends $67,429 annually, leaving a theoretical surplus of less than $15,000 before taxes eat further into it. Empower's 2025 Financial Wellness Survey found that 61% of Americans say their finances control their life, rather than the other way around. Fidelity's 2025 retirement analysis showed that the average 401k balance for workers aged 35 to 44 is just $55,400, roughly 1 year of expenses for the median household. At that rate, retirement at 65 is not a plan. It is a fantasy. So the question becomes, what separates the 31% of millionaires who never earned six figures from the 62% of six-figure earners living paycheck to paycheck? The answer is a budget architecture, not a spreadsheet, not an app, a zero-based system that assigns every dollar a destination before it arrives. The framework that follows is built on that exact principle, and it starts with the most counterintuitive rule in personal finance. The $0 budget rule is exactly what it sounds like. At the beginning of every month, you take your expected income and allocate every single dollar to a category until your remaining balance reads zero. Not zero in your bank account, zero unassigned dollars. Every dollar has a name. Every dollar has a purpose. Nothing is left floating. This is the opposite of how most people budget. Most people pay their bills, spend what feels reasonable, and hope something is left over at the end of the month. That is not a budget. That is a wish. And the data confirms it fails at a staggering rate. A 2025 Schwab Modern Wealth survey found that only 33% of Americans maintain any budget at all. And of those, fewer than half follow it consistently. That means roughly 83% of American adults are navigating their financial lives with no operational plan. Here is why zero based budgeting works where other methods do not. It eliminates the concept of leftover money. There is no surplus to unconsciously absorb into lifestyle. There is no ambiguous pool of cash sitting in a checking account, whispering that you can afford that $47 DoorDash order. Every dollar is pre-committed. A study by the Journal of Consumer Research found that people who pre-commit spending categories reduce impulse purchases by an average of 34%. That is not willpower. That is architecture. Consider two households. Both earn $6,200 per month after taxes. Household A pays rent, utilities, car payments, groceries, and minimums on debt. Whatever remains, roughly $800 to $1,100 depending on the month, is spent reactively. Dining out, subscriptions, Amazon purchases, gas station snacks, impulse upgrades. At the end of 12 months, Household A has saved between $600 and $1,400. Household B uses a zero-based budget. Same income, same fixed costs. But every dollar of that $800 to $1,100 surplus is pre-assigned: $400 to an emergency fund, $300 to debt payoff above minimums, $200 to a Roth IRA, and $100 to a short-term savings goal. At the end of 12 months, Household B has $4,800 in emergency savings, has paid down $3,600 in additional debt, and has $2,400 growing in a retirement account. Same income, radically different position. The math is not complicated, the behavior is. You have probably heard of the 50-30-20 rule. 50% to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to savings and debt. It has been repeated so often, it has become financial gospel. And in 2026, it is dangerously outdated. The original framework was popularized by Senator Elizabeth Warren in her 2005 book, All Your Worth. At that time, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the United States was $621 per month. As of January 2026, Zillow's observed rent index places the national median at $1,979. That is a 219% increase in 2 decades, while median household income rose roughly 78% over the same period, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The math no longer holds. For a household earning $5,500 per month after taxes, 50% allocated to needs is $2,750. But housing alone, before utilities, insurance, and transportation, is consuming $1,979. That leaves $771 for every other need. It is not enough. The $0 budget does not operate on percentages. It operates on priorities. You list your actual expenses, your actual debt obligations, and your actual savings targets. Then you fund them in order of importance. Needs first, then debt acceleration, then savings, then discretionary. This is not theoretical. This is how 75% of the millionaires in the Ramsey Solutions study said they handled money throughout their wealth-building years. They did not follow a formula. They followed a sequence. Necessities, then future, then present. And here is where it gets interesting. The National Endowment for Financial Education found that households using priority-based budgeting systems accumulated 47% more savings over a 10-year period than those using percentage-based models. The reason is structural. Percentage models assume your income and cost of living maintain a stable ratio. In 2026, after 3 years of compounding inflation that totaled roughly 18% according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, that assumption is broken. Your budget has to reflect your life, not a formula designed for 2005. The single most important window in your financial month is the first 24 hours after your paycheck hits your account. What happens in those 24 hours determines almost everything. Vanguard's 2025 Behavioral Finance Report found that individuals who automate savings, transfers on the same day as their direct deposit, save an average of 2.4 times more annually than those who transfer manually at a later date. Read that again. Same income, same intention. The only difference is timing and automation. And the result is 2.4 times more wealth accumulated. This is because of a principle behavioral economists call the present bias. Your brain assigns disproportionate value to money that is visible and available right now. The moment your paycheck lands in your checking account, every dollar feels spendable. It feels like your money. And it is. But if you do not move it before your brain registers it as available, your spending decisions will be shaped by its presence. Fidelity's research on automatic enrollment in 401k CHIM plans supports this at massive scale. When companies auto-enrolled employees at a 6% contribution rate, 92% of workers kept the contribution. When enrollment was optional at the same rate, only 36% elected to participate. Same money, same outcome. The only variable was whether the system removed the decision from the moment. So here is the actionable step. On the day your paycheck arrives, before you buy groceries, before you check your balance, before you do anything, 3 automatic transfers should fire. First, your budgeted savings amount moves to a high-yield savings account. As of early 2026, Empower and Marcus by Goldman Sachs are both offering annual percentage yields above 4.5%. Second, your budgeted debt acceleration payment goes directly to your highest interest balance. Third, your retirement contribution, whether to a Roth IRA or 401k, is deducted before you ever see it. You are not relying on discipline. You are engineering an environment where discipline is unnecessary. That is the difference between people who build wealth and people who plan to build wealth someday. If you carry consumer debt, no budget in the world matters until you address it. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York reported in Q3 2025 the total U.S. household debt hit $17.94 trillion, with credit card balances alone surpassing $1.14 trillion. The average credit card interest rate, according to Bankrate's weekly survey, sits at 20.74% as of February 2026. That means every $1,000 of unpaid credit card debt cost you roughly $207 per year in interest. That is not a fee. That is a wealth tax on your future self. Inside your zero-based budget, debt repayment is not optional. It is a fixed line item, and the method matters. The Ramsey Solutions study found that 80% of millionaires who had carried consumer debt at some point used a method consistent with the debt snowball, paying minimum payments on all debts while directing every additional dollar toward the smallest balance first. The mathematical argument is that the debt avalanche, targeting the highest interest rate first, saves more in total interest. And that is true, mathematically. But a 2024 study published in the Journal of Marketing Research found that consumers using the snowball method were 14% more likely to eliminate all their debt, because the psychological momentum of eliminating individual balances sustained motivation longer. Here is a real projection. Take a household with $22,000 in total consumer debt across 4 accounts, a $1,200 medical bill at 0%, a $3,800 personal loan at 9%, a $7,000 credit card at 21%, and a $10,000 credit card at 19.5%. If they pay only minimums, at roughly $580 per month combined, they will take 11 years and 4 months to become debt-free, paying $14,891 in total interest. If they use a zero-based budget to redirect an additional $400 per month toward the snowball sequence, they become debt-free in 2 years and 9 months, paying $4,206 in interest. Same debt. A $10,685 difference in interest paid. and 8.5 years of their life returned to them. The budget did not create new money. It redirected money that already existed. Once consumer debt is eliminated, the zero-based budget transforms from a defensive tool into an offensive one. The dollars that were flowing toward debt now flow toward wealth. And this is where the math becomes extraordinary. Assume a household that frees up $980 per month after eliminating consumer debt, which is realistic based on the average American household's debt service burden, according to the Federal Reserve's debt service ratio data. If that $980 is invested monthly in a diversified index fund, averaging a 10% annual return, which is the historical average of the S&P 500 over any rolling 30-year period, according to data compiled by NYU Stern. Here is what happens. After 10 years, that money grows to approximately $201,000. After 20 years, it reaches approximately $750,000. After 30 years, it surpasses $2.17 million. That is $2.17 million, generated from the same dollars that were previously servicing credit card minimums and personal loan payments, not from a raise, not from an inheritance, not from a side hustle, from redirection. Think about that for a moment. The Cerulli Associates 2025 U.S. High Net Worth Report found that 73% of households with investable assets above $1 million cited consistent monthly investing as their primary wealth-building behavior. Not stock picking, not real estate, not crypto. Consistent, automated, monthly contributions to broad market index funds. Vanguard's own data shows that their average millionaire client held 72% of their portfolio in equities, predominantly index funds, with an average holding period of over 15 years. These are not geniuses. They are not lucky. They are not born wealthy. They are people who captured money inside a system and let time do the compounding. And here is where the zero-based budget provides its deepest advantage. Edmunds reports that the average new car payment in the United States as of Q4 2025 is $738 per month over 68 months. A person operating without a budget sees that payment as a fixed obligation. A person operating with a zero-based budget sees it as a choice, one that competes against every other line item for funding. When you have to physically assign $738 to a car payment and watch it drain dollars from your investment line, your emergency fund line, or your children's education line, the decision changes. The budget does not tell you what to do. It forces you to see what you are doing. Tom Corley's 5-year study of 233 wealthy individuals and 128 individuals living in poverty found that 84% of wealthy participants tracked their monthly spending in detail. Among those in poverty, the figure was 9%. Not who theoretically could track their spending, not who should, who actually does. The gap is not knowledge, the gap is execution. And the zero-based budget is the execution framework that closes it. Go back to the registered nurse in Phoenix. $140,000 household income, $940 in savings, $14,200 in credit card debt. She does not have an income problem. She has an allocation problem. Every dollar that enters her household exits without a plan, absorbed by a lifestyle that expanded to fill the space her income created. She is not irresponsible. She is unstructured. And in 2026, in an economy where the average household is one emergency away from financial fracture, unstructured is indistinguishable from broke. The framework you just absorbed is not complex. Assign every dollar a role before the month begins. Fund priorities in sequence, not by percentage. Automate transfers within 24 hours of each paycheck. Attack debt with directed intensity. Then redirect those same dollars into wealth-building vehicles and let compounding do what compounding does. Now picture 2 versions of yourself 5 years from now. In one version, you close this video and change nothing. Your income went up slightly, but so did your expenses. You still have credit card debt, though the balances have shifted between cards. Your savings account hovers around $2,000 on a good month. Retirement feels abstract, distant, someone else's problem. You are 41 or 53 or 29, and the gap between where you are and where you should be grows wider every year. In the other version, you built the budget. You automated the transfers. You eliminated the debt in 2 years and redirected every free dollar into index funds. Your net worth has crossed $100,000 for the first time. Your emergency fund covers 5 months of expenses. You sleep differently. Not because you got rich, because you got structured. The information is in front of you. The tools cost nothing. The only variable left is whether you decide that this month, this paycheck, this Tuesday or Friday, when the direct deposit hits, is the one where the pattern breaks. No one is coming to build this for you. The system works. The question is whether you will.